Hey, what's up everyone? It's Assad here. Welcome back to the 52 Cards channel. In this video, I actually had a completely different video planned for this week, but after last week's video, I was reading through the comment section and, but by the way, thank you everyone who leaves comments on these videos. It's really nice to receive that communication back after publishing a video. I read every comment. I really appreciate that. And some commenters were mentioning or suggesting that an alternative method could be used to improve the trick that I taught. And I agree. And I love the fact that you guys are thinking outside of the box and not restricting yourself to one specific method. I want to encourage you to continue to think of different ways of doing these things. My main goal here on this channel is to provide you guys with an arsenal of different tools and techniques and ideas so that you can do whatever you want with them. And once you have a specific trick or an effect in mind, you can arrive there using any number of methods that you want. There's an infinite number of paths to get to where you want to go. So I want to get you guys to continue to think along those lines. I figured in this video, just as a way of kind of getting you in the habit of doing this and to just try to teach this larger lesson, I would teach the exact same trick that I taught you last week, but using an entirely different method. And then you can kind of compare and contrast. You can see which one you like more, and then hopefully you continue that practice of substituting in different moves, different techniques for all the tricks that you eventually end up learning. Because depending on who you are and your background and the way you like things, your preferences, one method may suit you better than another. So before I get into it, let me just recap what the effect actually is, and then I'll show you the alternative handling. This video is brought to you by 52cards.com. If you want to learn more about card magic, visit the website to access a full tutorial library for free with hundreds of more lessons that are neatly organized by difficulty level and category. You can also check out our shop to find premium designer playing cards from all of the top brands, which are perfect to practice and perform with. All right, so let me start off by just giving a brief overview of what this trick actually is, and then we'll dive into the alternative method. So this is essentially an effect where the magician appears to be just messing up miserably and embarrassing himself, but then at the very end, he recovers in a really surprising and entertaining and impressive way. And it's just a really fun plot, and always gets great reactions. It's I originally read about this. It's called Design for Laughter, and it's in the Royal Road to Card Magic. Now, in last week's video, I taught it in a way that's very close to the original source. I do use a different handling for the glide, which is the main move that was used in last week's video. But for the most part, it was very close to the original version. In the original version was a bottom control, a glide, followed by a series of glide as the forcing method. Okay, so this time around, we're going to use a completely different set of moves to achieve the same effect. So this time we'll use a top control, followed by a triple false cut, and then we'll use a double lift, and then we'll use a forcing method known as the Gouldine force. But then again, I just want to remind you guys that you can substitute any of these moves for any other moves that you may want to, once you understand, kind of where this needs to move and what needs to happen at the end. So let's begin. You're going to start off by having a card selected from the pack. Let's say they picked this one. Normally you wouldn't look, but for the sake of the video, it's okay. Let's say they picked the Ace of Hearts. Okay, now the first step is we need to control it to the top. Okay, I shouldn't say top control. We actually need to control it to second to the top. Okay, from the second to the top position. And there's a few really great methods available for this. For me personally, I would either use a bluff pass or a tilt. I've made full videos on both of these moves on this channel in the past. I'll link you to them down in the description box down below. Personally, I tend to prefer the bluff pass, but again, it just depends on what your preferences are. So you'd be taking the card back into the deck, but then using the bluff pass, it looks like you're just losing that card into the middle, but really it ends up second from the top. Once again, link to those videos down below if you want to learn how to do that. Once you're in this position, you may want to follow up with a bit of a convincer, just an added top stock false shuffle control. So the Hindu shuffle is really good for this. I made a video on this a while back as well, link down below. It's just a shuffle, but it maintains the top batch of cards. and then you're kind of ready to dive into the actual effect. So what you're going to say to the spectator is, look, I'm going to try to find your card, but I'm practicing this new move where I'm able to kind of just cut directly to your card. Even though I just shuffled and it's just a perfectly normal deck, I'm going to hopefully be able to cut directly to the card that you picked. Now I'm still practicing, so I'm going to need a few tries. Give me 3 tries to be exact. Okay. Now at this point, you're going to be separating the deck into 3 piles. A nice way of doing this is, instead of just doing a straight cut sequence like this, because then they can clearly see that one of the packets, or the top card of one of the packets, was the original top of the deck, which it's not a deal breaker, but it's not exactly ideal. Instead, we'll use a false cut sequence to make it look like it's 3 random cuts. And this is a tabled false cut that I taught on the channel in the past that looks something like this. Very nice. I'll link you to it down below so you can learn it. It's got a nice rhythm to it, and it's just a really nice way to make it look like you're mixing up the deck, but really it keeps the entire deck in the exact same order. We're going to be using it in a slightly different way now. So instead of stacking the piles on top of each other, we're going to be using it to cut it into 3 different piles like this. Okay, and it's not obvious that way that one of the is the original top pile of the deck. So I'll just break that down briefly. There's not much to it. You're going to start off by swing cutting about 1/3 of the deck. Full video for the swing cut, if you don't know how to cut the deck like this, down below. I don't want this video to be an hour long. That's why I'm referencing all these other moves in the description box down below. So swing cut top third, you're going to swing cut the next third, but you're going to keep a pinky break in between those 2 packets. And then the remaining packet in your right hand, you cut to the table. You lift up all of the cards above the break, place that in the middle, and then the original packet you place right here. And now you say, okay, look, so I'm hoping that your card is either this card, this card, or this card. I'm going to show you each card one at a time, but here's another thing that I've been practicing. It's reading body language. So after I show you each card, don't tell me if I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm just going to be paying attention to the way that you react. And based off of your posture and your eye movement and your body language, your overall energy, it's possible to gather pieces of information. And I'm going to try to determine if I in fact cut to your card or not. But once again, don't confirm or deny if I'm right or I'm wrong, and try to keep a poker face. Don't make this easy for me. But yeah, let's give it a try. Okay, so you're going to lift up. You want to keep track of which pile has their card in the second from top position. That's going to be the one on the right. So you're going to start on the other end. Pick up this pile. Now, instead of using the glide like we did last week, I want to teach it using glide last week because, one, that is how it's originally published, but also because I taught you the glide in the week before that, and I wanted to show you an application. But this time, we're not going to use the glide at all. Okay, this time we're going to be using a double lift as the card switch. So for this first packet, we're doing nothing out of the ordinary. We're just flipping the top card over, showing it. We have them look at it, and you say, okay, take a look at the card. While they're looking at the card, you're looking at them. You're studying their behavior. You're doing a little bit of acting here. You're pretending to kind of read them. And after kind of squinting your eyes at them a little bit and looking at them for a few moments, you say, no, I don't think this was it. Let's place this card to the side over here. You place this pile down. You say, okay, well, let's see what we have here. The 6 of spades. They're going to look at it. You're looking at them. Again, you're acting. You're pretending to read their body language or whatever. After a few moments, you say, no, I don't think that was it either. Turn the card back over. Deal it next to the first card. And then for the third card, you say, okay, let's take a look at the third card. And at some point in here, you might want to remind them, like, okay, please, again, don't confirm or deny if I'm right or I'm wrong. Let me try to figure this out on my own. And at this point, you're going to do a double lift. Now, I'll share a little bit here. I've probably talked about this on the channel, but a really nice way to get a break underneath the second from the top card. I normally like to use the pinky count, although if pinky count feels kind of strange when you're dealing with just a small packet of cards, it's still doable. But if I have a small packet, usually the way that I like to get that break is I briefly push off a single card, I kind of gesture with it, and in the process I push over the next card, I pull back on it, I have a break, I bring this card back, I square it, and now I have a 2-card break. So at full speed, it's just, oh, that was a bad example. It's something like this. Okay, now I do the double lift. Once again, I've talked a ton about the double lift on this channel in the past. There'll be a link down below so you can learn my preferred handling for the move. Okay, you show them the card. Now this actually is their card, but after studying them again for a few moments and pretending to read their body language, you say, no, I don't think this was it either. Flip it back over and deal it besides those other cards. And you say, okay, look, this didn't really work out, but let's try this a different way. Okay, I have another idea. So you're going to stack the 3 piles, making sure that their card remains on top. And you say, look, why don't you help me out with this part? And that way, hopefully we have some better luck. Now, in the last version that I taught you in last week's video, I said, at this point you would have them name any number between 1 and 10, and then you would count down that number of cards, and their card would be at that number. This time around, we do a little bit differently. We say, look, I'm just going to riffle down the side of the packet like this with my thumb. Anytime you want, just say the word stop. They say stop, and at this point you're doing a forcing technique that I really like. It's called a Goldine force. And what it is it looks like you're cutting the deck exactly where they want you to, and it looks like this, and then you deal down the card. But really what's happening here is, let me show you that at full speed once again. They say stop, you say, okay, look, let's take the card that you cut at right there, and then you proceed. But let me break that down, and then we'll get to kind of the finale of this trick. Really all that's happening is here, when they say stop, you're going to kind of stick your thumb in briefly into that separation. You really are stopping exactly where they tell you to. But then all you're doing is you're flipping this top pile over. You're flipping it over again. And then there's like a depth illusion that's going on. You're dropping that half. And that really makes it look like it's coming from the middle. Because this whole spinning action, it's a little hard to follow. But if you play it off, you just have to be confident about it. If you play it off as that's the card that they stopped at in this depth illusion thing where this pile ends up lower than this, it's a really great illusion. I made a full video teaching this where I cover it in finer detail. So once again, link in the description box down below. But you're going to peel off, or you're going to deal off the card that they apparently stopped at. And then another little finesse point is here. You don't put this on top. You actually leave that in the middle. So you place this pile on top of that card to reinforce the idea that it came from the middle, and you square up and you say, look, I've obviously been failing, and then you might want to gesture to these cards for a moment. I've obviously been messing up. I'm not having a lucky day, but I get the sense that after reading your body language and whatnot, like, you might have the magic touch. This might be your lucky day. So if we did this right, hopefully this works out. What was the name of the card that you picked? You say, it's okay, you can say it now, we're committed. They say the Ace of Hearts, and then you slowly, at first you might want to act a little confused, Ace of Hearts, but I thought, and then you pause for a moment, you act like you just don't really understand what they're saying, but then you say, okay, well, let's take a look anyways. Boom, and it is, in fact, the Ace of Hearts. Now, this is just such a powerful moment because, for a few reasons. One is they cut the deck anywhere they wanted, and that point just happened to be the card that they picked. That's amazing. The second reason that this is so great is because they thought the Ace of Hearts was right here. They just saw their card over here just a few moments ago. So their immediate reaction here is they're going to want to come over here and flip over this card. They're going to flip over these cards. They're going to see that it's gone, and that's just like a second effect, and it makes it even more confusing. And then the third reason that I think this is so strong, and I encourage you to do this with a lot of tricks, is this trick ended up being successful because of the spectator. You gave them the power, you gave them the magic. Like, instead of taking credit for the amazing thing that's happening, it's always really fun to give that power to the spectator, and it's just overall a better experience that way. All right, this was kind of a different type of video, but I hope you liked it. I hope this was helpful and that it gets you thinking about all the different type of methods and handlings and moves available to us to use within the context of these various tricks and effects that we're trying to perform. If you liked the video, please do hit that like button. It helps the channel out. Leave a comment down below, subscribe, hit that bell button for notifications of future videos. And as always, if you want to learn even more, go check out 52cards.com. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.